Live from the 607 is the world-famous Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports, locally, nationally. Hit us up on the social media, hashtag ODPH, because I'm looking at my clock, and right now it's about time to start the show. And welcome back to another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. I'm your host, Ken M. Sitting next to me this week is the intern himself, Padawan J.
MVP. And
he did remember he has one timeout left, too. And finally, after a long hiatus, trying to join the Mets organization, we heard. We're going to get the scoop here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the studio. The one, the only, sound guy galore, JR.
Listen, I don't think it's going to work out.
No?
Listen, fat guy in Florida, I just couldn't get the shoulder as loose as I wanted to, so I don't think they were that impressed. But thank you for the support.
No problem. We had it. You here in our hearts and our minds. Hashtag ODPH. Let's get right to the sports talk. And no bigger story going on than what the heck is going on in the NBA Finals. How do you describe that?
They need Air Bud now.
Cleveland is down 0-2 in the series. Game 1 was about as competitive as it could have been until the final minutes. And in such, there was a very questionable offensive charge call against Kevin Durant from Golden State on LeBron James.
Yep.
That was overturned.
Because when situations like this happen, it can never be just, the random role players. It's always got to be two of the biggest stars on the teams.
Yeah, and it was just kind of really questionable that late, at least in my opinion, that late, you overturn the calls. Now, I don't really remember anything like this happening in recent memory, that a major call this late has been overturned for such a crucial playoff game.
Nothing immediately comes to mind.
No, and thus when it did, it kind of saw that Cleveland's momentum of closing this game out was shifting. I'm not saying something was real funny about it, but I'm just saying, okay,
I felt it was kind of shifting already before that, simply because Cleveland was making some shots, but also missing some shots, and Golden State was making more shots than they were missing.
Well, that's the thing about Golden State is they are a second-half team. Dare I say, can I compare them to the Patriots, that they make great second-half adjustments, and that's usually when they close out.
Yeah, I mean, look at the one game they had against Houston where Houston was beating them badly at halftime, and then Houston, the entire second half, scored like 25 points.
And then we get to the final minute, or final seconds of the game, rather. George Hill is fouled by Klay Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to the foul line, and he misses the game-winning foul shot.
And this is a man who, correct me if I'm wrong, is like an 80% or 90% free throw shooter.
84.
Okay.
And he looked like he was about a 49% free throw shooter.
He looked very, very nervous on that line.
Understandably so, though. Given the game, given the moment, given the situation, I would be nervous myself.
I could fully understand it too, but as a paid professional, though, you got to nail those shots, and you can't have an easier shot than a free throw. Let alone he misses it, and J.R. Smith from the Cavs gets the rebound. Now he's right underneath the basket. There's 4.7 seconds left. The game is tied.
Yep. And
I guess the question I will just quickly ask the panel: if you are in a game, do you lose track of the score at any moment?
No.
Especially. You had a pause in the action late. This is where I can't say, okay, things are moving too fast, the ball's going up and down the court, you lose track. No, there was a pause in the game, and you have to know, as a professional, what the score is. This is just unexcusable.
I can understand maybe if he wasn't quite sure how many timeouts were left, because that's something he wouldn't actively have to remember. But when it comes to score, it doesn't matter if you're LeBron James, Michael Jordan, or the worst player in the entire NBA. Statistically, you have to know what the score is. You have to know how much time is left on the game clock and how much time is left on the shot clock. There's no excuse for you to go, I didn't know what the score was.
No, it just was mind-blowing on that.
My biggest question, though, is, like you said, with the pause in the game, does that also fall on Tyronn Lue? Because during that time, how do you not discuss, if option A happens, this is what we do. If option B happens, this is what we do.
Oh, you got to have a backup on your backup on your backup.
But that's what I'm saying is, like, as far as Tyronn Lue's, like, this is kind of, I mean, yes, J.R. Smith needs to know the score, yes. But did Tyronn Lue also kind of say, hey, guys, listen, here's what's going on. This is where we are. This is what we're doing. If he misses both, if he makes both, we're going to get in here because we'll be up by 1. Like, did he not communicate that effectively?
See, he missed that free throw, and I thought initially in the heat of the moment, I thought for some God knows what bizarre reason he intentionally missed it. Like, that crossed my mind. I'm like, wait, did he just intentionally miss it? And then JR starts running around like, wait, what's going on?
It looked like a weird release. Now, granted, I've not studied George Hill's free throw shooting style, but just as it was released, it did look like he just underthrew it. Maybe it slipped out of his hands. I mean, who knows? I can't really figure that out. But with JR getting the ball, and I guess to touch upon JR's point, the only thing I can guess is Tyrone Lue must have thought George Hill's an 80% shooter. There's no chance he's missing this.
Which is something you can't assume. We all know what they say about assume.
Yeah, he shouldn't assume that. But then when JR gets the ball back, he's right underneath the hoop. Why does he not just go straight up with it?
See, that's what confuses me. What also confuses me is why he didn't look for the first open person and just chuck it.
I think because in that moment, he was looking for LeBron. In all honesty.
Did he not look left?
I think he honestly either just panicked, which could quite possibly explain a lot.
Yeah.
But at the same token, you get the ball underneath. The only other explanation, which I thought I saw on many video replays he mouthed after the time had expired and the Cavs could not get the final shot off, is I thought we were up by 1.
Right. I know I saw that too, and that's the way I read it.
But at the same token, was there any chance that like somebody could have just grabbed him? You know, if LeBron sees him coming his way, why is he not just running up and grabbing him and just yelling timeout, timeout at that stage? I think what happened, it was just a mental collapse all around.
Right. I mean, I get it. It's a high-pressure situation. There's a lot of pressure and a lot of focus on an NBA game, normally doubly or triply so when it comes to the NBA Finals. But it's inexcusable to be, I thought we were up. No, you got to be like 1,000% sure.
Right. I mean, if this is game 5 of the year and you're forgetting,
yeah,
it's still not excusable. But if you forget, then fine. This is the NBA Finals. How do you not know where you stand against the Golden State Warriors for the 4th time in game 1 in prime time, and you have no idea the score?
Can you imagine if this was like the deciding game of the entire NBA Finals?
If this was game 7,
game 5, 6, 7, 4.
If this was game 7, if it was in Cleveland, that stadium probably would have burned to the ground. If anybody else, I don't know how you come back from it. I mean, J.R. Smith did kind of, just try getting back on track the next game. Albeit, though, once that play happened, Cleveland looked deflated. If you see the video of them on the bench, LeBron, I don't know if he just finds out they still had a timeout left or whatever, but he just looked dejected and just immediately checked out instead of rallying the team together and saying, hey, let's, we can still win this. Because for being on the road and for many people, the Cavs are not even supposed to be keeping it close any chance in the series.
No.
For them to keep it close and let alone have the chance to win, they had to punch that ticket. They had to. Because the minute that went in overtime, Golden State, I don't know if it was the first game jitters, if you even want to call it that, they wore it off and they cashed that game home. So for game 2, obviously everybody's looking at J.R. Smith. He's taking a lot of heat for it. Everybody's looking at the Cavs in general because LeBron had, 51 on game 1?
Yeah.
Was he going to be able to do this every night? No. And Golden State scored relentlessly in the paint in game 2 to the point where if I'm Tyrone Lue, why was I not switching up my defense to kind of anticipate they're going to try driving underneath? Because
in terms of points in the paint, both teams failed miserably in that sense. Cleveland had 52 points in the paint. Golden State, 50.
But for Golden State, though, to score that much in the paint, because they're primarily known for being a three-point lights-out shooting team, that was truly telling. So they came in with a different game plan. J.R. Smith was not in the game. Was he 2 for 9, I believe?
2 for 9 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3 for a grand total of 5 points.
For coming off that game 1, I mean, I think as going into game 3 in Cleveland, I think if you're the Cavs, you need to bench him. You cannot have him on the court. Why they don't implement Rodney Hood in there, I don't know. I mean, I can't answer that question because you have to do something if you're Tyrone Lue to switch up that game because Golden State ran him out of the gym on game 2.
Final score of 122 to 103.
And that's mildly
Like, and it was one of those ones where I remember watching the game. It was like 5 minutes left, 6 minutes left. I'm like, yep. Like, they just started nailing threes, and I'm like, yep, this one's over. And then Curry had that absurd one that he's like, oh, shot. It was like a horse shot.
Yeah, it was a mild description of how badly the Golden State Warriors blew him out of the gym. So,
well, when Steph Curry sets an NBA final record with 9 threes in Game 2, it's kind of hard to stop that. But, whatever.
Yeah, once he gets clicking, though, that's the thing. You need to slow them down. You're not going to shut them down.
Well, yeah, and it's hard to shut down Durant when he scores 26, Curry with 33, and Thompson with 20.
Golden State does have the perfect defense against Cleveland, though. Mm-hmm. Let LeBron get 105. That's cool because no one else on that team can do anything.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin Love had an okay game. I believe he had 20 points. So.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Finally, a Kevin Love setting.
Yeah.
Finally, you see him come out of nowhere, and when it doesn't matter, you see him show up. And I hate to say that, but with J.R. Smith, I hate to say it. I'm going to be that guy. Why did a 27-win Knicks team to get rid of him? I hate to say it, but there you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but if that's not going to work in an NBA final game, that's what happens? Come on.
They need consistent.
Come on, guy.
They need consistent shooting, and you know what? Nobody else in the Cavs is doing it other than LeBron.
Which is exactly their awesome point. Let LeBron set all kinds of NBA records. Let him have 50 points a game. That's fine because you know that you're going to get absolutely no support behind him. So just keep playing your defense. Let those. Korver's been a ghost.
Korver has shown up when he can,
up.
but you know what? But his rotation in time of playing has been kind of really off because he has been very consistent when he's been on the court, but his minutes have been very low, which I don't understand. This is just me watching outside, the box here.
Game 2, he only played 17 minutes.
Yeah, which I thought for as well as he's been playing these past 2 series, I thought they should have got him in more. And then why are you letting J.R. Smith just stay in there when he's completely checked out?
Personally, I know I've said this here on the show, and I've said it to people outside work. I have zero faith in Tyronn Lue as a coach.
No.
I think he's doing a very dismal job at best, and LeBron's coaching that team more than he is.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
And this is completely exposing him as a coach because he has no idea how to work this team, which, granted, was pieced together. I will give him that, yes. He's got a lot of pieces that came from nowhere. This is not the team he started with, and I understand he's piecing it together. But he's doing a horrendous job, and he has absolutely zero answer to any of Golden State's problems.
I agree with you 100%.
Zero.
I agree with you 100%, and I think part of the reason he looks so good or people thinks he's so good is because he has the best player in the world right now on his team. Take LeBron James away from that team.
They're not in the playoffs.
They're not in the playoffs. He'd be fired after a month.
That team would probably have less than 15 wins because there's literally nothing to it. He calls up no plays. I'm sorry, but it's exposing him as a coach. And don't mistake me. I am not saying Steve Kerr is an excellent coach because I think personally, I know I'm saying this, but I think he is also riding his team of just pure talent and expecting them to know exactly what to do in that moment, which they do because they've been there. So it's not like it's a Brad Stevens where Steve Kerr's got this playbook and he's drawing up all these incredible plays and outside things and reading defenses doing this. He may be to a point, but he sure is not a Brad Stevens. And he is definitely riding the coattails of the all-star team that is.
I think he's good at putting the right players in the right place at the right time. But in terms of like he's this head coaching mastermind, maybe to a degree, but in the same level as maybe a Phil Jackson or any of the other famous coaches, no.
I think as far as it goes for calling plays, when you have the team of Curry, Durant, Thompson, and Green, you really don't need to call that much. You just need to make sure that you're balancing minutes out. And I think that's one thing that Phil Jackson did with his teams in Chicago and LA. So it's not so much he needs to draw up plays and really make something happen there. He just needs to manage minutes and hopefully manage the egos on those teams.
I mean, when you played under a gentleman who coached both Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, you're going to know how to manage some egos.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he does a stellar job with it. I mean, I think that's one key element to Golden State that doesn't really get talked about too much. But as going for Tyronn Lue, with LeBron on that team, you really don't need to do that much because he's going to quarterback on the court anyway. So it doesn't matter what you draw up. But what he needs to do if he's going to work with LeBron about this is, okay, here's what you have to work with. You have Larry Nance, who when he's in the game has been a spark plug for him.
Yeah.
You have Rodney Hood, who's been out of the rotation for whatever reason. He can make some shots. Get him in there. You have to mix up your lineup because you know you're not going to get an offensive outpouring from Thompson. He's there for defense and rebounds. That's what you're going to get from him. Kevin Love, if he's in the game, he'll be fine, but you need to get consistency from him, and it has been few and far between for whatever reason. The only other factor of Game 2 that really stuck out too, and I'm not saying this was a big factor for the Cavs losing, but the inconsistency of the refs for Game 2. I thought there was a lot of calls that were very favorable towards Golden State, more so than they should have been.
Yeah, to a degree.
to a degree, but it was kind of more noticeable. I know that there was a couple loose ball fouls that weren't called. I think that should have been, and I think that maybe that played not a huge factor, but it's kind of a momentum shift because as you were seeing those calls not going towards Cleveland's way, you saw their players complaining a little more than they usually should have been. Yeah. And for such a crucial game to try rebounding from a complete collapse from game one, I thought maybe
in a game where they needed to come out and make a statement, not necessarily blow Golden State out of the gym, but they needed to win. It wasn't a good look.
Absolutely.
All I'm going to say is, so far in these NBA Finals, I've taken two things away. One, LeBron is going to get his 6th loss in a final. 2, LeBron James is not going to be a part of Cleveland in about a week. He's going to leave.
I have to agree right now, unless there's a massive change, and I mean like something that we can't even comprehend. Where he goes, though, that's still going to be for debate.
Yeah, of course, Game 3 of the NBA Finals is this Wednesday, 9 o'clock on ABC. Current line, Golden State favored by 5.
Here's my thing. Just because I know everybody thinks that Golden State's just this super cocky, super arrogant, like, hey, we're this good, we've got this powerhouse, this is our team, we run whatever. I mean, as Pat said in our intro, MVP, they're chanting J.R. Smith.
Which is
in
probably
Oracle, which is pretty.
I would say, is probably the most savage thing I've heard in sports since the Yankee fans chanted "Who's your daddy" at Pedro Martinez.
Right. So I mean, it's pretty gnarly. But I mean, just to piggyback that point, I think this series will go 5 only because they want to celebrate in Oracle. They do not want to celebrate in Cleveland, and they're gonna lose Game 4. They'll keep it close. They'll pretend like they care, but let's be real, they really don't care. They'll give LeBron his shining moment in Cleveland. They'll let him also, he'll go off for 70 and some huge triple-double Game 4, rally the troops, we're going to go to Oracle, and then they're going to get absolutely slaughtered in Game 5, and then they'll celebrate, and then that will be the last time you'll see LeBron.
And my guess, in closing for the segment, I think Cleveland is going to win Game 3. I think if they're going to win any game in this series, it's going to be Game 3. Because they'll be back on their home court. Hopefully the hometown energy can kick into them, and hopefully Tyronn Lue and LeBron have made enough changes to that lineup that they give their best shot going forward. Now, do I think they win this series? Unfortunately, all signs are pointing to no.
If I'm Steve Kerr and I want to get because let's be real, and I think we all know this, Quicken Loans Arena is going to be capital LOUD for Game 3. If Kerr is smart, practice, get some recordings of, say, Arrowhead Stadium or where the Seahawks play, two of the typically loudest stadiums in the NFL, pump the sound in during practice.
He's going to need to do something because Cleveland will be rocking, and hopefully for the Cavs' sake, they need to win Games 3 and then see what they can do in Game 4. But if they lose Game 3, it's over. It's completely over. But let us know what you think. Hashtag ODPH. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're now on iTunes. That's right. The Ocho Duro Parlay Hour is now on iTunes. So download, rate, and subscribe. Spread the word, and thank you for listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. I'm the street light guiding you home. Avoid the wrong step into. Coming back for segment number 2 on this week's ODPH, and NHL hockey has been amazing. If you have not been watching the Stanley Cup Finals, you have been missing something.
Yes, indeed.
Blue Shirt Nation. Oh.
Whoops.
Damn it.
Blue Shirt Nation will rise up again next season. Trust me.
Damn it.
Trust me. I'm not trying to count my pucks before I smash them, but we'll be back next season. Rangers, stay with me. But this playoffs between Vegas and Washington, Pat, how do you describe it?
One word: incredible.
I mean, it has been incredible games. Vegas being the Cinderella story, as we've discussed for the past couple of weeks, has really stepped up to the occasion, but something has now kicked into Washington.
The clock maybe getting near midnight?
It's debatable because Washington has been on a roll ever since Game 2. And the games have been kind of really close. Obviously, the first ones in Vegas were 1-goal games. Except for the first game because that turned to be like, I believe, an empty netter at the end when it was 6-4 for the first game and then 3-2 caps for Game 2. which Holtby had the save of the year. If you have not seen that.
How?
I mean, debatable. I mean, he only made a unbelievable stick save with 13 seconds to go to save a win on the road. But, I mean,
listen, I maintain.
In the Stanley Cup Finals, whatever.
I maintain. You haven't seen him and Doctor Strange in the same room.
He pulled some magic out of somewhere because that save, I literally dropped my phone, and I don't think I was moving out of my seat for a good 5 minutes because I was in shock that he blocked that and still trying to figure out how the heck he pulled that off. But Holtby has gotten locked in for this playoffs.
Mm-hmm. I think the crazy thing when you watch that save is if I know, of course, we've all seen it, but you see that unbelievable stick save as he's lunging. It catches the bottom, inch and a half of his stick as he makes this absolutely unbelievable lunging save, makes it. And as you're watching, you see the Vegas players celebrating because they think it's a wide open net goal. You're going to push this game to overtime. It's going to be great. And then all of a sudden you see the disappointment like, why is he holding the puck?
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. Why is it in his hand? Like, wait, hang out. Why does he have it? Why did play stop? Like, why didn't why didn't the horn go? Why didn't we score? What happened? And then it's like, oh, wait. He just made an unbelievable save.
And
out of position.
And I got to say, that had to be the turning point in the series. I mean, not to take anything away from Vegas, because like I said, Vegas has shown up for every game, and they have been fighting tooth and nail. But when that goal happened, or that save happened, rather, excuse me, that was the true, turning point, I think, for the Caps. That they made that save. That was the crucial moment that they kind of go, okay, we're going back to our home ice, and let's go take this home.
That's the moment where, like, if you're playing basketball, your teammate hits a clutch three, and the entire bench is, like, halfway down the court yelling and screaming.
I mean, the best way I can think about this is, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Vegas has been absolutely running through the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been looking really good. You thought they were odds-on favorite. I mean, they were going to beat Washington outright, not a sweep, but I mean, they were going to really give Washington what they need. And the best analogy I can think about this is, like, when you're boxing and you're fighting a mixed martial arts specialist, and he's going to take you to the ground, and he all of a sudden clocks you in the face, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, what happened?
Wait a minute, he just punched me in the face. Like, that's not what I thought this was going to be. And now they don't have a reaction. Like, someone has literally gotten in their face, which is what they've been doing every postseason. They're more physical than anybody. They make more hits than anybody. And Washington walked right in and punched him right in the face, so to speak, and is giving him a taste of their own medicine. And they're going, oh, like, now we're getting bullied around, and they don't have an answer. Right. And you can see it in the last 3 games. They've gotten schnockered.
Right, and nothing's a guarantee. I mean, the Sports Center have posted something on Instagram earlier today where they said the Capitals have lost 5 series when up 3-1, the most such losses by a franchise in Stanley Cup playoff history.
But this doesn't feel like that. I mean, I know that isn't a very accurate stat, but for some reason, and I mean, watching Vegas in this, and take nothing away from the Golden Knights, they've had an incredible year. But Washington is locked in. And I don't think that they're going to let up. I think Holtby is playing at such a high elite level. Take nothing away from Marc-Andre Fleury, though. But Holtby is just playing that much better. And when you're making saves like that, and your team is generating offense around you, like Ovechkin's doing, Kuznetsov is doing, and you have, or TJ Oshie is doing as well, you're having your team really give you a cushion that, you know what, you don't need to go blow out every game, by 5 goals.
Right, and they're definitely, it looks like they're playing a little more loose, a little more relaxed.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, I mean, I watched the game, I just watched the game last night, and, excuse me, we're watching it, and it was the end of the second, and I actually forgot the game was on. It was my fault. I tied up doing, more baseball practicing, but it's for another time. I'm sitting there watching, and I was like, oh, shoot, I forgot the game's on. So I look, and it's the end of the second intermission there. And they're getting ready to start the third, and I look and see they're up 4-0 already. The Capitals are, and I'm like, oh my gosh! I'm like, they look terrible. Like Vegas isn't doing anything. Vegas had 24 shots on goal, all saved.
Yeah.
Yep.
0 for 24 on shots, where Washington was 4 for 14. I think it was 4 for 14 or 4 for 15. And I'm thinking, well, I mean, at least Vegas is giving shots, but like you said, when your goaltender's on fire, you can ride a goaltender to a cup.
Oh yeah,
that's unbelievable.
It doesn't matter how much firepower you have on your lines. If you are going up against the hottest goalie in the playoffs right now, and since Holtby came off his shutout streak against Tampa Bay, he has still been lights out. That is going to be a true test to overcome.
Yeah.
Not saying Vegas can't do it, because like I said, Vegas has played far exceeding expectation this season.
Oh yeah.
Can they still come back and win this? Sure.
Yeah.
In my opinion, though, as I said on last week's show, I still think Washington wins this in 6. because I think this is Ovechkin's time, and he is rallying that team. Like I said, TJ Oshie is playing at such a high level, and Kuznetsov is doing the same thing. And when you have those guys clicking on your team, I mean, they're going to be damn near impossible to stop.
Sky's the limit.
And to cash that home, especially for Ovechkin, because like we were saying, I know JR has been doing his baseball training. For Ovechkin, this is his legacy. This is the window. Like, if he does not cash in this season, I don't think he does.
No.
By any stretch.
No, because, I mean, you look back at the Rangers playoff runs they had in the last couple of years and how quickly that fell off.
Well, there's a lot of different factors going there, too.
Yeah.
Oh, look at Pat getting the blue shirt. No, it's below the belt. Come on, guy.
But with that case, though, I mean, Henrique has been playing at such a high level that just, unfortunately, they couldn't pull it off for him. They just didn't have enough firepower. This is where you have arguably the best player in hockey, because you can debate it with Sidney Crosby. But you have the guy that is known to take over games and put up, insane amount of goals per night. And now he's rallying his team around him. Like, he's now making them better, and they finally have that line that is finally scoring at such a high level. I mean, like I said, they're up 3-0 at the end of the first last game. And to Vegas' credit, they're hanging in there. And take nothing away. They're gonna scrap in. It's not like they're getting rolled over 7-1.
Yeah, they're not exactly gonna skate out of the way if Ovechkin comes skating down the ice with a head full of steam.
No, but I do think though Washington is still gonna pull this off in 6. I think Vegas gets the next game just because when you're putting up that much high scoring games back to back, and they're taking a lot of physical tolls. I think that Washington might need to bounce, or Vegas will need a bounce back game, and I think that this will be the one to do it because they still were scrapping and it was highly emotional.
Yeah.
If you're watching the game, there was a lot of fighting and shoving,
a little bit of smash mouth hockey.
But that's what you want to see. You want to see passion out of your team as a fan. Because if they just let's say they just rolled over and just kind of coasted through at the end of that game, I think I'd be more fired up as a fan.
I'll say if I'm a fan going to a hockey game, while I would appreciate seeing a great scoring, great shooting, great passing, great whatever. At the end of the day, I want to see somebody go smash and knock somebody's teeth out.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about hockey is you want to see physicality, imposing your will on the other team and scoring and great defense. I mean, hockey is just a beautiful thing to watch live, but there's nothing like playoff hockey.
So I bring this to the panel because I'm curious, and I thought about it while I'm down in St. Lucie, but again, that's for another time. I'm thinking for goalies, we watched last year Nashville get ridden by unbelievable goaltending, which got them to the Stanley Cup Finals. Mm-hmm. Came up short, but can we say that a goalie is the most important across all sports for a single team? If your goalie is that hot, they can ride you to a title, and that's across all boards. I'm thinking like pitchers. They're only going to throw maybe 2 games, maybe a third. Bumgarner being the exception a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Being a freak. Quarterbacks, but your goalie. I mean, seriously, if you have a goalie who's absolutely no good.
No,
is it like the most important in sports?
You bring up a very good argument.
I'm just curious.
No, you bring up a really good argument because I would say between that and a quarterback in football, in American football.
Yeah, but 85 Bears. That's my rebuttal.
But they had the defense, though. I mean, it's hard to kind of compare, but if you're looking just for a sole position.
Right. One that can get you a title.
Yeah. I mean, goalie is the one because everything runs through the goalie, no matter what you do for hockey. But if your offense, I mean...
Like, I'm thinking for baseball standpoint, if your pitcher's having an off day, your offense can pick you up. If your goalie's having a bad day, you are really in trouble. I mean, your offense can't save you from a goalie who can't make a save.
There's definitely instances where one particular person has helped a team to a championship. I know Mariano, for those couple of years with the Yankees, comes to mind. Yes, there were other factors that played into it, but had Mariano not been on some of those world championship teams, they wouldn't have won them. But I think goalie definitely is one of those positions where if your goalie's playing like crap, I don't care if you're Wayne Gretzky.
Right.
You ain't winning.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you have a goalie who's like mediocre, your team's going to struggle, and we've seen that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's true. Like, you can only have so much offense, but if you're I'm just thinking goalie. Mm-hmm. Could be as easily, in my books, got to be number 1 or number 2 across all sports as far as important. Like, that has to be your centerpiece when building a team.
I treat that like 1A, 1B because I think it's too hard to compare to such a team sport like football where you have 11 guys on one side of the ball in comparison to hockey where it's almost half that number. But I do think, though, for the goalie, they can carry your team further.
Right. If your goalie gets hot at the start of the postseason and starts going shutout, I mean, like I said, we saw it last year in Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
When your goalie starts pitching shutouts, I mean, you feel unstoppable. No matter, you can only score 1 goal and That guy behind us is going to save 45 saves tonight. Not have a problem.
I mean, yeah, you even think about it when the Binghamton Senators won the Calder Cup. We'll take it local for a second.
Yeah.
They made a switch at goalie and rode that out.
Right.
So, I mean, it all depends on who gets hot at the right time. Mm-hmm. It's just a lot of chemistry that goes in with it. But I would say, yeah, I mean, it's a 1A, 1B. If you look for, I guess I would say a smaller unit sport, like such as basketball, such as hockey, I would say, yeah, absolutely. It's goalie without question. But I think with football, there's just another dynamic in there that I don't know if you could compare that one.
Football's a little harder because while if your quarterback's not hot, at least you have the defense to back you up and stop the other team from scoring.
Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's debatable because, like I said, but there's a whole different dynamic because that's a whole different.
You can definitely make the argument, but it's kind of what you're more a fan of and how you look at it.
I just found it interesting that it's
it's a great question.
We're always talking NBA, we're always talking football, but it's like the goalie.
Yeah, because the goalie for hockey, I mean, that carries your team. That's why I say you look at the elite goalies in the leagues, and you see who steps up at the playoffs and who can carry their teams. I mean,
why are those teams still playing in the postseasons? Goalies. Yeah. I mean, granted, your offense, sure, not to slouch away from like Ovechkins and what have you, Crosby's, but still.
But let's even take it to a minor example here before we close out the segment. Take a look at Vegas, and one of their first picks was Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah.
Why? Because you need a goalie that can, withstand the season, as a veteran that can carry your team into the playoffs, and you
need a goalie that you can plug in there and not have to worry about or coach, and one that is proven.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, to back that point up, yeah, I would say for the smaller sports though, definitely is goalie. But I think American football might be just a little too much to compare with. I would say it's 1A, 1B if you want to look at that aspect. But in overall, final thoughts on the Stanley Cup Finals.
Awesome. I mean, playoff hockey, if you've never seen it, you need to watch it. Even if you're not a fan. I mean, Blue Shirt Nation, we're not, but we're still watching because it's unbelievable hockey. And I can only imagine being at that stadium.
I've enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. I was pulling for Vegas just because it's the first time there, first season, all those storylines. But I really don't root for either team. So I've definitely enjoyed it way more than I thought I would.
It's playoff hockey. There's nothing like it. I've said many times before, there's nothing more intense than playoff hockey. Nothing.
Only thing I would say more intense is local playoff hockey in the playoffs.
This is true. If your team is invested in it, and especially if it's small town, it takes on a whole different level. But overall, it's been a fun series to watch. The past couple playoff series from the Eastern and Western Conferences as well. I'm still taking Washington in 6, but you know what? I kind of root for a Game 7 just because.
Pat, you?
Vegas in 7.
Oh, damn it. I was going Vegas in 7.
Go right ahead. But, hey, more importantly, let us know what you think, how you see the Stanley Cup ending up this season. We want to know. # ODPH. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Ciatoy, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves, you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where we'd
Time to talk a little UFC 225 here on the ODPH, and man, is that a stacked card.
Ooh, yeah, it is.
I know we throw around stacked a lot, but if you look at, Pat, who's all on the undercard?
We're not even talking undercard. We're talking the Fight Pass.
Yeah.
It's stacked if we're talking who's on the Fight Pass. So, Fight Pass, some notable fights. You've got Clay Guida versus Charles Oliveira, and then you've got Rashad Evans versus Anthony Smith.
That's, right there alone, that would definitely make for a good mid-card, or undercard on the main pay-per-view stage. But this is on Fight Pass?
Yep.
This is insane.
Yeah, that's just a Fight Pass.
And then you also have, Joseph Benavidez versus Sergio Pettis too on there?
Sergio, which is just nuts, is on Fight Pass.
What? That's worth watching alone right there for a card.
Yep.
But let alone, we have more fights.
There is more. But wait, there's more. On the Fox Sports 1 preliminary card, you've got Ricardo Lamas is fighting, and then you've also got Alistair Overeem versus Curtis Blades.
Heck of a matchup there. They have that pretty well stacked, and especially Claudia Gaeta versus Carla Esparza too. The whole undercard alone.
That's like a regular card any other night of the year.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong anywhere you turn for that. So whether you're watching on Fight Pass or FS1, but let us break down the main card. You have CM Punk, former WWE, former independent wrestler. I mean, the man is a legend in the sport, and he is fighting Mike Jackson.
Yep.
Excuse you, it's Mike the Truth Jackson.
Oh.
Fair enough. But this is Punk's first fight since the Mickey Gall match that he had a couple years ago. Obviously, he's had some time to prepare. Everything I've been hearing that he's almost like a completely different fighter at Duke Rufus's camp, which for Punk, he needs to. This is a must-win for him.
Absolutely.
Take nothing away from Jackson, but this means more to Punk, I think, than anything.
Punk needs this way more than Jackson does.
It's debatable, but I think for Punk's legacy in the UFC, which, I mean, granted, I think when he came in, everybody was saying it was going to be like Brock Lesnar, obviously, making the transition from pro wrestling to UFC was going to be something along the same lines, and I think anybody that was a realist knew it was not going to be, but Punk is definitely a work ethic to admire. He is not quit at this. I know that he had a very bad showing against Mickey Gall, if you've seen that fight, and to see what he comes out with this time around is going to be truly telling. I will be rooting for him because I've always been a fan of his. I'm not sure how this is going to play out, though.
So, as a realist, you're going to take CM Punk?
You know,
you got your 50 down going to Vegas.
I'm gonna.
Why not?
Because here's the thing: Mike Jackson is about as equally matched, I think, from what I've heard, as Punk, and it just depends on who wants it more. Now, I think the hometown behind CM Punk is going to help him. I know that he's just gotten done with a legal case, too, outside of the UFC as well. So, I mean, he's got a lot of stress off his back. He's got a lot of support going into this fight. He's at a heck of a camp with Duke Rufus and company there. I think he's going to show up. He's going to surprise some people. So I wouldn't doubt him winning by decision. Let me put it that way. And then looking at the other card, we got Andrei Arlovski versus Tia Tuivasa. I hope I pronounced that right. I apologize if I didn't. And, you know, for this one, I got to go with Tia.
Yeah.
This one, Arlovski has been kind of a renaissance man in the sport. He's had a good run. He's been to points where I think he should be out completely. But this one, I think that his time has kind of passed. And I think he's going to show up. He's definitely going to put on a show. It's going to be a lot of fists. But I think that I do like Tuivasa in this one. I think he's going to take him down, and this one I think could end up being another decision as well.
Yeah, I can definitely see this one going decision. I know Arlovski's definitely not going to roll over and play dead just simply because I've been in this a while. He'll definitely put up a fight. He'll definitely throw some bows, but I think at the end of the day he's going to lose this one by decision.
I mean, let's be real. I hate to say it. This is a heavyweight fight. I'm afraid to see that it's going to be. I mean, it's 3. Let's be real. We've seen heavyweight fights. Could be a long 3-fight, drawn out, stand and swing. I'm indifferent, like you said. I mean, 42 fights under Andre's belt. That's a lot of wear and tear. I'm going the young guy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think the only thing you have here is this could be one of those where if T.I. takes him down, takes Arlovski down and just does, I'm not going to say lay and pray, but if he just does a lot of wrestling and grappling, I think Arlovski's going to be in trouble. Arlovski still can throw some heavy hands, though. Yeah. So, I mean, that'll be the saving grace and just kind of see where we go from there. The third fight on this one is very intriguing because you have Megan Anderson coming over finally to the UFC from Invicta, I believe. I know that at one point she was scheduled to fight Chris Cyborg for the featherweight title in the UFC, and it didn't happen. I believe Anderson was injured. But now she's going to be fighting Holly Holm, former bantamweight champion of the UFC, and this one will be at 145 as well. So thoughts around the panel about this one?
I'm definitely intrigued to see this one just because I know I've never seen Megan Anderson fight.
I am intrigued as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of hype with her coming over, and Holly's looked definitely a little skittish. Mm-hmm. I mean, that fall has been a very slippery slope for Holly. As far as I mean, we've all seen it. I mean, you're at the ultimate top, and now it's. I'm not saying she's at the very bottom. I'm not saying that, but it's been the
slide's been steep.
Yeah, and in a hurry.
Well, I think anytime that you're in Chris Cyborg's division, I mean, that is going to be a tough road no matter where you go in this one.
Yeah, no matter who it is. And
I think this one is going to be very competitive. I would not doubt, and I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to say this might be the fight of the night. I'm going to say this one is going to surprise a lot of people. I'm going to go with Megan Anderson on this one, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. So going to the co-main event, boy, where do you go and begin to talk about Colby Covington? Dare I say he's the anti-McGregor?
Yeah, you could make that comparison.
He has been known to get on a lot of people's nerves if you follow him on social media.
Yeah, he's notorious for some stuff.
If you see some antics that have happened involving him and I believe Fabricio Verdum on a card, Colby has definitely made some noise for himself. I don't know if it's in a good sense or bad sense because, it's publicity, so however you want to determine it, but he is in the interim title shot for the welterweight division against Rafael dos Anjos, which, dare I say, he's withstood the test of Robbie Lawler.
Uh-huh.
I don't go against anybody that has withstood the test of Robbie Lawler.
Nope.
I think dos Anjos is going to win this. I think he's going to go for a crazy knockout because he's angry, and Colby has definitely been running his mouth ever since he's gotten the chance to do it because, Colby did defeat Damian Maia, but Damian Maia is also on the end of 40, I believe. I hate saying it because I do love Damian Maia's fighting style. I just think that he's going up against Father Time now. It's not looking pretty.
No.
So with Colby coming in there, he's going to try out wrestling him. I know dos Anjos has had trouble in the past against wrestlers, but Robbie Lawler was a wrestler too. And Rafael dos Anjos is no joke at 170. I'm going to say dos Anjos TKO in the third. I'll give you that prediction.
Ooh, interesting.
So thoughts around that, JR?
Well, you've already scared me for this fight. I'm always into the guy who's just ready to get underneath your skin, just because then you want to see how you react. I don't know if dos Anjos is the right guy to piss off, so to speak, especially because, like you said, when you run up against a Lawler train and stop it, that's a scary thought.
Yeah.
So dos Anjos, I'm guessing I'll probably only go 2.
Going 2. Wow, that is something, Pat.
You mentioned it before, but the antics Colby Covington is responsible for, particularly on Twitter, I'm slightly motivated by those antics in my pick on this. Don't hate the guy. Not the biggest fan of him. Dos Anjos via TKO in the second.
Man, everybody's going TKO early. I will tell you this. Covington has done a nice job of making people know who he is.
For all the wrong reasons.
For all the wrong reasons. And like I say, just look on his social media and you'll know why.
Yeah, he might have spoiled Star Wars the night it came out. He might have spoiled Avengers the night it came out.
That's just like the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
But let alone, look at the incident, I believe, involving Fabricio Verdum, and then that will justify a lot.
So just to piggyback this fight here, so we're all going dos Anjos.
Yes.
Yep.
For the interim to fight
Tyrone Woodley, I believe, is due back in either late July, early August, from what I've read.
In that neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah, so, this is kind of a little crazy for me.
The interim.
Yeah. To even kind of think about. Because, I always hate when they do, situations like this where we keep on having interim title fights, interim champions that's kind of lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, and it's not through a lack of Woodley wanting to fight. He's definitely willing to fight. It's just a set of bad circumstances.
Yeah, it's just when injuries happen that kind of derails a lot.
Part of the business.
It does derail a lot. Which to be honest with you, I would love to see a RDA rather versus Woodley fight, but we'll see what happens. But now going into the main event, Robert Whittaker against Yoel Romero, and this is not the first time that they have danced, folks.
Nope.
This is the title fight, I believe, that Whittaker won the belt because it was, I believe, Bisping was injured at the time.
Something like that.
Or there was some injury. I'm losing track of my stuff. But either way, Robert Whittaker is back, healthy, and ready to go. Romero, dare I say, this is going to be his shot to get the belt. If it doesn't happen this time, he's going to be in a little bit of trouble. Pat, what's your thoughts on this one?
I'm thinking because of everything that's happened with Yoel Romero in the news, outside of the sport, in terms of like booking fights and getting fights set up, he's, as the saying goes, he's had his chain jerked around a little bit. I think he's motivated more than we might realize and is looking to come out swinging and make a statement. And he's going to win.
You taking Romero by knockout or just decision?
Knockout.
Okay. JR, who you got?
Boy, you know what? I don't know. Something about when you look at these two, Romero always scares me. Mm-hmm. And he's got a really gnarly name, and he's just unbelievably awesome every time I've ever seen him. And it's just, I don't know. Like Pat said, he's been jerked around a little bit in his fights. I don't know. I think I'm going to take Romero. Pat talked me into it. I'm taking Romero.
One thing I've learned on this show is if I bet against a fighter and just say, they're going to get beat, they sometimes make it their mission to prove me wrong. Robert Whittaker is that fighter because every time that I thought somebody was going to beat him, he has surprised me, whether it's been he has out-wrestled Jacare on the ground, whether he has taken somebody else out in the middleweight division. I mean, honestly, I am not going against Whittaker. I am taking Whittaker again to win because I think last time I took Romero. No, I think Whittaker is going to come back. Whittaker has made a believer out of me at this division, and I think that he is going to win this. I think, unfortunately, it's going to be another decision, but I think that if he can stop Romero's wrestling and withstand some shots, he is going to impose his will, get some good strikes in, work the leg kicks, because I believe that's what he had the success with last time.
That rings a bell to me, yeah.
And then he's going to do it, because it's been a while since we've seen him fight, because I know he got injured there for a while.
Yep.
And, I mean, I'm excited to see it. I think this card, I mean, no matter where you turn it, you're definitely going to see some highlights.
Oh, yeah.
You're definitely going to see a lot of action, and you're going to see where the direction of the UFC is going to be going in, because there's a lot of contender implications moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you know what? You scared me because I do remember that Romero just got leg kicked to death, and it's really annoying. So I hope his camp's been walking around every day just kicking him in the leg, so that he continues to as he's walking around, just continue to leg kick him, and then he just has to duck everywhere he's walking around.
He's sitting in the cafeteria eating his lunch in between training sessions, and one of his sparring partners walking by the vending machine to get a bottle of water or whatever it is he wants to drink, and he just walks by, kick.
Exactly. Just to practice this, because now it's all coming back to me. He just leg kicked him to death.
Yeah, Whittaker came in with a great game plan. I think he's going to do exactly the same thing. But before we close this segment out, we have to give a shout-out to the common man, Vince Ciatoli, our favorite local MMA fighter, who's been on the show numerous times. Today is actually his birthday as we're taping on Tuesday. But he has written a guest blog for this fight card, which we'll have up on the website Wednesday morning. So make sure to check it out, show him some love on that. And we'll have a little news for him on our Facebook page next Friday of when he's coming back on, because he's coming back on with a special guest.
Ooh.
Who is it? Stay tuned to the ODPH social media network.
Yeah.
But we're going to take a quick break, close the show out when we come back. You are listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour.
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo!
Coming back with the local minute on this week's ODPH. Pad, what you got?
Got a little bit of Rumble Ponies news, as usual. Of course, this week they are out of town for a 3-game set against Harrisburg, and then a little bit of Subway Series minor league action, where they play a 3-game set against Trenton. They come back home for a 3-game set starting Tuesday against Altoona. Turning to the standings, they are sitting in third place, at 31-25, and only 3 games behind New Hampshire, which, funnily enough, we got to see New Hampshire play over the weekend.
Yeah, we'll start off rounding the bases with this. Pad, myself, Kevin Molson, and Vinny, shout out to all those guys from the Wrestling Recap. We're all down at the Excite Wrestling show, where there was a double header because Friday night was rained out.
Yep.
And we saw a lot of action going on. I believe Tim Tebow signed a prosthetic leg from one of the fans there, which has been making the rounds on our local social media. Yep.
We also got to see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. play. Yes, he is the son of Major League Baseball Hall of Famer Vladimir Guerrero. I have just one question, which is rhetorical. Why in the world is he still playing in AA? I looked it up. As of recording, he is hitting .409.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can describe it, but I would imagine by All-Star break, if not shortly thereafter, he will be in the majors.
Especially with Donaldson being down for an extended period of time, and he happens to play the same position.
Yeah, so, I mean, it would make sense, but, hey, we got to wait and see, but if you get the chance to go enjoy any type of minor league baseball, you should definitely go see it, especially if you're in the Binghamton area, bingrp.com. But like we said, we were all down at the Excite Wrestling show, and dare I say, there was something happened in the main event that we found out about Monday that is definitely noteworthy of just, true performance and heart.
Yeah.
The main event was All-American Jack Swagger, former WWE champion, versus Axel Lennox versus the hybrid Sean Carr. And what we knew on Monday, we found out actually, was Sean wrestled that match with a broken ankle.
And not just part of the match, the entire thing.
Yes, before the show started, he had explained on Facebook.
Yeah, so he did a Facebook Live, which I was fortunate enough to catch when it went live. Basically, what happened is he showed up to the stadium and the ring was already set up, and they asked him to check the ropes because, as he said in the live stream, I've wrestled in the ring for 10 years. I'm probably the guy they trust most with making sure the ropes are right. So we went to go check the ropes, and the thing he didn't know, but he quickly found out, was that the ground at the stadium was not level. So they'd put a couple of ply boards underneath the ring to level it out. Well, at the corner of the ring, the ply board was sticking out a little bit, and there was a mat on top of it. So he went to go get out of the ring, and his foot got caught between the mat and the ply board, and he twisted his ankle. So the doctor checked it out and said, yeah, you should be good to go. We'll just tape it up heavily. So they taped it up heavily, and he went and wrestled the match. And during the match, he had a move done on him where he said his ankle gave out completely. And he said, at that point, I knew something was wrong. So flash forward, he goes to the walk-in, gets an x-ray done, and is then told that the tendons that hold his ankle together were bent so badly that part of the bone broke off.
That is insane. But it was all heart and performance that he went through the match, and definitely want to entertain all the fans on there. So we have to give him a quick shout-out.
Yeah, stand-up guy, friend of the show.
Absolutely. Sean always takes the time to talk to us every time we see him, so we definitely got to give him a shout-out. And he's not doing a GoFundMe for this by any means, but if you want to go to Pro Wrestling Tees, TEES.com, and go to his store there. He has wrestling T-shirts for sale, and they'll go to help him out. So we have to give him a quick shout out. Pat, what you got for your base this week?
And a little bit of interesting UFC news. I know we did it last segment, but this is something interesting. I know there's been a lot of talk and news the last couple of months with fighters missing weight. Either they're overweight, they're underweight, they got to do whatever. All sorts of crazy stories. Well, Dana White went on the UFC Unfiltered podcast, and that was brought up about fighters missing weight so much, and he basically admitted that they screwed up with having, because of course they have the ceremonial weigh-ins later in the evening. They've already weighed in, but at this point it's for the press, it's for the fans. But the official weigh-ins are in the morning. He said they screwed up by having the weigh-ins in the morning. They're going to change that, and no longer will the fighters be weighing in officially in the morning. They will be weighing in mid-afternoon. So it gives the fighters more time to make sure they're at weight.
I think that's a smarter move. I mean, because as we've seen over the past couple cards recently, actually, there's been fighters missing weight left and right.
It almost seems like, an unfortunate tradition that, the day before or a couple days before a fight card that okay, they're weighing in and you're going, okay, this fight that I'm looking to, all right, everybody weighed in. Everybody weighed in. Oh, wait, this person didn't weigh in, and now I've got to wait 2 hours to see if they're going to make weight.
Yeah, and I think that can only help him too, because obviously the weight cut, as we heard when the common man's been on talking about it too, is probably one of the most grueling aspects of fighting. So if this helps out and maybe can have everybody make proper weight, I think I'm all for it. JR, what you got this week?
So I actually have 2 things this week. Super excited. The first one pertaining to myself. I just want to thank everybody for all this love and support. My wife and I are actually expecting our first child. We got about a month left. So that's why I've been gone. I've been doing the dad prep, so that's why I've been gone. I've not been in St. Lucie, but it's a hell of an idea, and I'm going to take it up next year. So thank you for everybody there. However, sports related, I am going to give a plug. If you've been watching the French Open, I know it's a little out of our realm here for tennis.
I've caught a little bit.
I'll watch a highlight.
I've caught a little bit.
In the world of personal dominance, I always talk about golf. And we talk about Tom Brady, and he's got all of his rings, and he's with the Patriots, and it's unbelievable. And we talk about Mariano and how he's all great. How about how does 10-0 tickle your fancy for French titles that Rafael Nadal has? And he's seeking his 11th.
That's impressive.
Right now.
Okay, you got my attention.
Yeah, he's going for a record of 11-0 in French Open titles.
That's impressive.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So in a world dominated by Roger Federer, as we all talk about, we know he's king, so to speak, in the tennis world. 11-0 is not too shabby.
No.
So keep your eyes peeled. He's got a tough matchup. Juan Martín del Potro, he's going to be playing tomorrow. If he wins, then he goes to face Nadal in the semifinals, and then if he can't give him...
I'm no tennis connoisseur, but I do recognize the name. That won't be easy for him.
Right. Well, yeah, Juan Martín del Potro, he's had a lot of wrist injuries in the past, which has kind of settled him down, but he's only 27, I think. He's pretty young, actually. But, yeah, if he gets the win tomorrow, I hate to say it, but that's going to be your winner, one of those two. If Nadal can get it done, he is the master on clay, 10-0, solidifies that, 11-0. Pretty much untouchable.
It's always fun to watch, especially when a player is playing at such an elite level. And, to win the French Open is no easy task. Shout out to our international listeners over in France, too, by the way. But to win on the clay court is no easy task.
The only clay court
Yes.
that they actually play as far as the majors are concerned. And not to do it once, twice, 10 times, seeking 11. Just saying.
It is truly amazing to watch. From a fan standpoint, you got to tip your cap to them.
The epitome of the term master of your craft.
Yes.
You are a clay wizard.
Without question. So that's all we got for this week. So for Padawan J,
MVP, MVP, MVP.
for the Sound Guy Galore, JR.
I'll take any advice, by the way, on the whole being a dad thing, so thank you.
Yes, you can hit him up on the hashtag DadJRODPH. So let's see that hashtag show up tonight. I am your host, Ken M. Thank you, as always, for listening to the ODPH. We'll see you next time.
Dreams like satellites in motion. Just another drop in the ocean.